What's up, family? So apparently today, Pooh Shiesty, Big Slime himself, father, out here on some bullshit. But let's get into the video.
Got to update y'all with this, but United States of America versus Latrell Williams Jr. Before the court is defendant's motion for de novo review of magistrate judge's detention order and motion to release on conditions filed June 11, 2026. This motion is scheduled for hearing Tuesday, July 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. in the courtroom of 1505, signed July 10, 2026. So next Tuesday, that's going to be for Pooh Shiesty to get a bond, which is going to be denied expeditiously, but you might as well try. Yeah. But his daddy got some good news and some bad news at the same damn time. So here we go, basically. And it's a 12-page response, but we're not going to read all 12 pages because it's not necessary. But it goes on to say the government filed a motion to revoke the pretrial order release before and all that crap. And they got the bond and all this shit, and the court entered a protective order. Williams filed a motion to leave, file reply. The court grants Williams leave to file his reply. And for the reasons set out below, the court grants in part and denies in part Williams' motion to modify conditions of release. Talk about the legal standards. We don't give a shit about that. Analysis. The court addresses Williams' motions for leave. The district local criminal rules state that briefs may not be filed, so we don't care about none of that. Rather, as explained above, as setting conditions, we don't care about that. He's under 24-hour lock and key. So, for that shit. The government does not oppose this request. Having reviewed the relevant filings and record, the court determines that allowing Williams to travel to confer with his attorneys, that's fine. Williams also requests that home incarceration be changed to home detention. Yeah, sure, that ain't really what's going to happen. So that he can leave for his work and employment process, or that he be placed on a curfew from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Oh, he tripping. But you got to go for it all. He explains that he owns, manages, and is renovating more than 8 properties in the Memphis area, and that it has been proven extremely difficult to manage the properties and complete necessary work without being able to leave. He adds that these properties are currently the sole source of income on which he relies to support his family and pay legal fees. Okay. A defendant may be precluded from engaging in certain occupation or employment if there is substantial risk that the defendant will use the access provided by the employment to commit additional crimes. And then Judge Christoph explained the reasons for her decision to impose all of this shit. As to Williams' employment specifically, Judge Christoph stated that I know what he's been involved in business and his work in the community, but I'm not comfortable with releasing him on conditions that would allow him to be moving about the community given his record. And so when balancing the circumstances in this case, Judge Christoph determined that home incarceration was the least restrictive combination of conditions that was appropriate. And the court is not persuaded that an adequate nexus was lacking between the instant circumstances and conditions imposed by Judge Christoph. Okay, we don't give a shit about that. The sponsor of this video is contends that modifying this determination is not appropriate because Williams has not identified any material changes in circumstance that alleviates the concerns that warranted home incarceration, and the court agrees. Besides an instance of trespassing and theft at one of his work sites, Williams has not identified any new developments in his work that require him to leave his residence and maintain his properties. And the court agrees that with the government, that it is unclear from his motion, other than the blanket assertion that has been extremely difficult, why exactly Williams Sr. cannot be consulted for these projects or regarding the recent vandalism from his home via telephone and using the internet, or with assistance from his business partner, K-Ron Jones. So what's the point in you having essentially a second or a right-hand man or a manager if they can't manage the properties in your absence? Is really what they're saying here. Declining to replace home incarceration with home detention, where defendants' arguments regarding needing to leave his residence are tenuous. And considering the nature and circumstances of his offense and the need to protect the public from further crime, insofar as Williams attempts to further explain in his reply why he must leave his residence to work, Williams had the burden of making the required showing to establish the need for the modification in his original motion. This missing level of detail and information comes too late when included for the first time in a reply. Also, that Williams may have complied with all his existing conditions since his release does not change, and in particular does not lessen. The underlying risk to public safety that led Judge Christoph to impose the location and monitoring restrictions. See, yeah, declining to modify. We're just going to skip all the way down to the bottom. Ben Williams has only been subject to home incarceration May 2026. So the court is not yet persuaded that he will continue to comply with his release conditions. If he is now permitted to access various work sites across the Memphis area at unspecified times of the day, that's interesting. Replace the home incarceration with home detention where there have been no allegations of non-compliance since the defendant was released 5 months ago. The court will not yet lower the level of monitoring to the greater level of freedom of a curfew due to the seriousness of the alleged offense conduct. Defendant may renew his request for a curfew at a later date once he has demonstrated compliance on home detention. And so the court determines that home incarceration rather than home detention or curfew remains the least restrictive combination of conditions that will reasonably assure.
Hey, y'all break down the comments for me. What's the difference between home detention and home incarceration? I mean, you stuck at home. Y'all break that down for me in the comments, though. I don't know.
Or Williams' appearance as required and the safety of any other person in the community. For these reasons explained above, the court grants defendant Latrell Williams Sr.'s motion for leave to file reply and grants in part and denies in part his motion to modify conditions of release. The court modifies the order setting conditions release and at the following. Defendant may, with the approval of pretrial services, travel to and from his attorney's offices in the northern and eastern districts of Texas for the purpose of discussing the case. All other conditions of release, including home incarceration, remain in full force and in effect. So ordered. July 13th, 2026. So here's what's interesting, and I'm going to be all the way fair with it. The dad's proposition was essentially my house is getting broken into when it's only one. I've done construction for years. I've done roofing for years. So if you need me to do your roof, let me know. Seti Nash knows how to build roofs. It's kind of ridiculous trait that I have. But neither here nor there. Stuff gets stolen all the time. Hell, the workers steal a lot of this shit. A lot of workers take the stuff home. So there's that. And on top of it, he seemingly forgot to mention, hey, yeah, my manager or partner, he can't really handle all this shit too. Which the question then becomes, and the court won't say it, but everybody with a goddamn brain will say, all right, what's going to happen if you get convicted and lose all these charges? What happens to your properties then? And they're like, cuz you ain't been out long enough for you to even ask for this kind of shit. If you have been good, no violations, no nothing for a couple of months,
right,
bro, we still have damn near a year to go. The Pooh Shiesty trial ain't happening until February.
Right.
It ain't close to February yet. So maybe if this would have happened in October, November, cool. But him being allowed to vroom and drive back and all that, that's cool. But I'm not even doing that, bro. I'm not trying to sit here and drive the 40 all the way down to the 30 through, what is that, Little Rock and Texarkana and all that shit. Great cities, don't get me wrong, you know. Some underrated cities. West Memphis for sure is one, in case y'all like to gamble. I don't. But anyways, so yeah, bro, for me personally, it's worth a shot. That's all they're saying. But that's pretty much it, man. I didn't see it. I don't see it. I don't get how they could really freaking do that, but it is what it is. But I don't.
Man, y'all let me know in the comments what they gonna do. I don't know. Pooh Shiesty dad, Pooh Shiesty himself is always in some shit. He came home and got everybody in some bullshit, as y'all see. But y'all let me know in the comments. Let me know how you feel about it. Until next time, make sure to hit that subscribe and like button on the road to 500 subscribers.